The rain was coming down hard on the pavement of East 4th, hissing like a serpent coiled around the city's throat. I didn't knock. The door to Needle and Sin was already ajar, swinging slightly in the draft, creaking a rhythmic warning that I ignored. The air inside didn't smell like sterilization or cleaning alcohol. It smelled of copper, thick, metallic, and undeniable. It smelled like a slaughterhouse disguised as an art studio. I stepped over a overturned stool and saw him. The victim, Liam Hughes. He was slumped in the heavy leather reclining chair, the machine still buzzing on the metal tray next to him, spinning dry. His shirt was stripped off and his back, God, his back was a canvas of ruin. It wasn't just ink. The lines were raised, angry and weeping crimson. The artist hadn't just drawn on him. He'd carved a narrative into the flesh, using the man's own lifeblood as the pigment. Case 010, the Blood Ink Manuscript. That's what I'm calling it in the files. Written by me, Detective Jackson Wright. The date was November 14th, 3 a.m. The address, a basement studio in the garment district where the streetlights had been shot out weeks ago. The trouble walked into my office 12 hours earlier. Her name was Elena Castillo. She didn't knock on my office door either. She just drifted in like cigarette smoke. She was wearing a trench coat that cost more than my car, and a look in her eyes that suggested she'd seen the devil and found him boring. "My husband is missing," she said, her voice a low scratch. "He's obsessed with a new artist, someone underground. Liam thinks he's getting a masterpiece. I think he's getting killed." She dropped a stack of bills on my desk, crisp, clean, meaningless against the dirt of the job. "Find him, Mr. Wright, before the ink dries." I took the money. The door to my office doesn't open for virtue. It opens for desperation and for the note that pays the landlord who has the patience of a hungry shark. Back in the studio, the reality was worse than Elena's fear. The police hadn't arrived yet. I had maybe 10 minutes before the sirens cut through the rain. I leaned in close to examine the work on Liam's back. It was a mural of his sins. Gambling debts, affairs, lies, depicted in grotesque, allegorical imagery. The shading wasn't black ink. It was dried blood, manipulated, scarified, and rubbed with ash. This wasn't a robbery. The cash register was full. This was personal. This was a statement. The local precinct, the boys in blue, they'd see a gang hit or a psycho. They'd snap photos, tag the body, and file it under unsolved by Tuesday. But I saw the precision. The lines were too clean for a frenzy. This was a ritual. That's the rule of the game in this town. To find the truth, you don't look at the light the city projects. You have to crawl into the shadows where the rats and the artists live. You have to be willing to get your hands dirty, because the truth is buried under layers of grime, blood, and cheap intentions. What you're about to hear is the version without the police tape, the raw cut. Listen closely to the quiet parts. That's where the killer breathes. I poured 3 fingers of cheap bourbon into a glass that hasn't seen soap since the last administration. The burn in my throat was the only honest thing in the room. I sat there staring at the photos I'd snapped before the cops swarmed the studio like flies on a carcass. The official report said Liam Hughes died of blood loss and shock, accidental manslaughter during an extreme body modification procedure. That's what the coroner said. That's what the papers printed. Garbage, all of it. To understand the malarkey of this city, you have to smell the rot, and that requires more than coffee and a badge. It requires a cynicism that bone deep. I looked at the close-up of the tattoo machine I found on the tray. A standard rotary coil, but modified. The needle gauge was wrong. It was a jagged tip, designed to tear, not puncture. And the ink caps? They weren't filled with pigment. They were filled with anticoagulants mixed with charcoal. The cops missed the sketchbook in the trash can. They saw a pile of bloody rags and turned away. I dug in. Hard-boiled work isn't about chasing gunshots. It's about sifting through the refuse. The sketchbook belonged to a man named Julian Ross, a ghost in the tattoo community. Talented, disturbed, and vanished from the reputable shops 5 years ago. I tracked Ross to a squat in the Navy Yard. The fog was rolling off the water, thick enough to choke on. The encounter wasn't a shootout. Noir violence is rarely that loud. It's a tense conversation in a hallway that smells of urine and boiled cabbage. Ross was there, his hands wrapped in bandages, shaking. He wanted it, Ross whispered, eyes darting like trapped moths. He wanted his outside to match his inside. I pressed him against the peeling wallpaper. You carved him up, Julian. You wrote his obituary on his skin. I'm a translator, he spat back. Liam came to me because he couldn't live with the guilt. He wanted the pain. He wanted the world to see what he was. Here is the psychology of despair. We think of murderers as monsters, but often they are just broken mechanics fixing broken machines with the wrong tools. Ross didn't kill for money. He didn't kill for hate. He killed for art. A twisted, sick aesthetic that believed suffering was the only true medium. Liam Hughes was a cheater and a thief, a man who ruined lives. Ross saw himself not as a butcher, but as a priest granting absolution through bloodletting. The illusion crumbled when I found the ledger. Ross wasn't just an artist, he was a blackmailer. The tattoos were confessions. He'd drug them, carved their secrets into their skin, and then threatened to release the photos if they didn't pay up. Liam Hughes just happened to die in the chair before he could pay. The victim was a scumbag, and the killer was a parasite feeding on guilt. You find the truth, but it never looks like justice. It looks like a shivering junkie in a condemned building and a dead man with his sins etched into his trapezius. The truth doesn't set you free. It leaves you poorer, more tired, and usually just like me, reaching for the bottle again to wash the taste of human nature out of your mouth. The handcuffs clicked on Julian Ross's wrists with a sound distinctively final, like a casket latching shut. I didn't feel a sense of victory. I never do. I just felt the weight of the rain on my hat as I watched the squad car pull away, the red and blue lights fracturing against the wet asphalt. I went back to Elena Castillo the next morning. I handed her the rest of her husband's belongings, a watch, a wallet, and the photos of the artwork that killed him. She didn't cry. She stared at the gruesome images of her husband's back, at the secrets carved in red scar tissue. He deserved it, she said softly, lighting a cigarette with a steady hand. He finally looks like the monster he was. She paid the balance of my fee. She didn't thank me. In this line of work, gratitude is as rare as a clean sidewalk. Technically, the modus operandi was brilliant in its brutality. Ross utilized a technique reminiscent of ancient scarring rituals, but corrupted by modern greed. By mixing anticoagulants into the process, he ensured the ink, the blood, would never truly set, keeping the wound raw, the message fresh. It was a psychological torture masquerading as body modification. The motivation was a hybrid of financial extortion and a god complex. Ross believed he had the right to judge, and the needle was his gavel. The case is closed. The file goes into the cabinet, jammed between a missing person that was never found and an insurance fraud that everyone knew about, but no one could prove. Liam Hughes is in the ground. Julian Ross is in a cell. And the city? The city is still sick. The smog still hangs low, hiding the next predator. Nothing changed. We just mopped up one puddle of blood while the ceiling continued to leak. Telling you this story, it's like striking a match in a flooded basement. It flares up, gives you a second of terrifying clarity, and then sizzles out, leaving the darkness thicker than before. I do this. I talk to you into this microphone, because silence is heavy. It crushes you. I need to let the ghosts out so there's room for the new ones. But don't get comfortable. The phone on my desk is going to ring. A new envelope is sliding under the door right now. It smells like cheap perfume and expensive mistakes. So, here is the deal. To keep this office open, and to ensure I'm still here to go down into the sewers when the decent folk look away, I need you. You are the jury now. Process the filth I just gave you. Subscribe to the feed. Share the misery. The night is long, and the rent is due. That's enough talk. Kill the lights. And shut the door on your way out. I have a glass to fill, and it's not going to drink itself.